Hi everyone, welcome back to Symbiosis 5 weekend events. Today we have Meet the Artist, Arlene Custock. So very happy to hear about her journey, and I'm going to just hand the time over to Arlene. Take it away.
Thanks everybody for being here today. I will just jump right into my presentation because everything I have to say is written out there. So barring any technical difficulties, we'll be fine. Here we go. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay,
They're good.
1 second. All right. Well, welcome. As you can see, I have a theme of clouds again. It's sort of part of the theme, though. This time I've moved into landscape painting. Starting off with who I am, I've lived my entire life in Northern California. I'm a third generation Concordian, which is the city that I was raised in. My husband and I were married in 1982. We also started our security alarm business in 1982. We have about 30 employees, so it keeps us quite busy. We have 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl, and 7 grandchildren. And while we were running the business from our home for many years, I also homeschooled our kids, and we had a very involved church life. So needless to say, there wasn't much time available for artistic things in the early days. As I mentioned in my bio in the Art of Letters website, finding calligraphy woke part of me up that I thought was dead and gone. It was like someone had shaken a bottle of champagne and popped the cork, and creativity just kind of burst out of me. This calligraphy journey brought me back to life in many ways and gave me an entirely new family of dear friends. I decided to try my hand at calligraphy when my daughter got engaged in 2014. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. I thought I was better than I was, and I'm grateful that I don't have any pictures of the envelopes that I wrote because they were not very good. But it, again, kind of brought something creative in me to life. And as my husband would tell you, I have spent years and years writing and writing for hours on end. I took advantage of every workshop that I could possibly attend and was blessed to have learned from many excellent teachers through the years. A very special thanks to these very important people who have shaped my creative life, and to many more teachers that I can't possibly list here. Nina Tram was my very first calligraphy teacher and became one of my dearest friends. She still is today. I just love her and appreciate all that she's invested in me. Next, I learned from Michael Saul, spent a number of years learning under his guidance, and then Barbara Calzolari as well. Been blessed to spend several weeks with her at different times. So that was a lot of fun. This is a picture from back in the day. I think it was either 2016 or 2017. I don't know if my cursor is lining up at all with where you guys are, but this is Heather Held. This was a workshop that she taught. Can you see her there?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Over on this side is Nina Tran.
Front row.
Yep. In the second to the back row is Young Hae.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see her there.
Yes, in the middle.
In the middle. And I'm right behind her next to the gentleman, and my hair was still dark at that point in time.
Ah, okay, I see you.
Yeah. It's kind of fun history there. Carol DeBosch was my mentor during Symbiosis 3. And of course, Randy Hudson, my Symbiosis 5 mentor. This was a selfie that I made him take with me during this year's Focus on the Sacred Retreat in San Diego. We're standing in front of his original of his angel painting, which is just phenomenal in person. Calligraphy led me to explore how I could use it to bless others. I began making birthday cards for all of my employees and family. This led me to combining small paintings with calligraphy inside the cards. This progression from calligraphy to painting was a natural transition for me. It allowed me to share these things, these little original pieces of art, as gifts in the form of cards. I really like blessing people this way. Once I began painting clouds in Symbiosis 3 and learned more about acrylic paints from Randy Hassan, everything changed. I realized that I could paint with acrylics in a fashion similar to oil paints without the mess and the fumes. And I could also use them much like watercolor paints. I've become hopelessly fascinated with landscape painting. I'm fully self-taught and I have zero professional training. Here are just a few quick examples of the cards and early landscapes that I painted. So they're nothing spectacular, but the card with the fish on it, that's a cod. And so it was kind of a pun on that word. And we called it, inside of it, it said, here's a birthday cod for you. Kind of if you said card with a British or Boston accent, that's how it would sound. The middle painting is the very first landscape that I ever did. That was in March of 2024. And then the second one that I ever did was on the left bottom. I painted that in May of 2024. So I haven't been painting them for very long. This is our team. I want to take a moment to thank each of you. Mostly, I'll start with you, Dorothy. Thank you so much for allowing me to participate in Symbiosis a second time. Your belief in me is an incredible gift. And Randy, you've become a very important person in my life. Your mentorship, encouragement, and investment of your talent and time in me has changed who I am as an artist. Thank you for guiding me through this process. Mostly, thank you for your friendship. Juan Luis, your amazing wisdom and incredible talent have left me speechless so many times throughout this process. I'm in awe of all that you've accomplished and grateful to call you my friend. Beautiful Dr. Nan, you demonstrate grace and kindness in all you do. You've shown incredible growth through the beautiful pieces you've created and inspired me in so many ways. Your strength under pressure, positive spirit, amazing talent, and kind heart have made an indelible mark on me. My lovely friend, Young-hae, I'm so grateful that we were able to experience this journey together. It's so funny how God knew we should be together in the same team. We were both processing the deaths of our parents, and we both chose to base our work around the same exact Bible verses, Psalm 23. I'm blown away by the depth of your heart and the expression of love you've given life to through this mentorship journey to honor your parents. Much like Nan, you're a kind soul with an incredibly loving heart. I'm grateful that we've been friends since 2015 or 16 and have been able to walk this path together. For those of you who may not be familiar with Randall Hassan's work, I'd like to show you a few pieces that I grabbed photos from his website. Randy's work is an incredible blend of fine artistry, powerful visual composition, impactful words, and deep spiritual foundations. He told me that when he creates a piece, he designs it with the intention of someone viewing it from across the room. You'll notice the images and see the words as texture and background. You might be able to read a few words, and as you get closer, you'll notice that the texture is actually words, but you still can't read everything. You must get closer. You have to see the canvas up close to see the hidden gems that he has tucked in for us to think about. His work is the ultimate marriage of fine art, fine calligraphy, and scripture. I can't tell you how much I admire and appreciate his work. It inspires my eyes and my soul. This is titled The Man in the Arena. The combinations of the quotations and scripture he chose are a reminder and encouragement to me when I feel like I'm not good enough and am discouraged by whatever I might be facing. So, as you can see, there's a lot here. I love this quote that is by, who is it, Thomas Jefferson? Theodore Roosevelt. It says, "It's not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is mired by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who at the best knows, in the end, the triumph of highest achievement, and who at the worst, if he has, I'm sorry, I can't quite, if he fails, at least he fails what's that word, Randy?
And if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly.
So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. And I just find that incredibly encouraging. I also love that on the left side here is the scripture that says, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord. So I want to show you also, I know that this has been shown, I think, by all of us, but as you'll notice from this beautiful, peaceful, watery scene, the only words you can really read at first are, he restores my soul. I assume that this painting is partly based on the first stanza of Psalm 23, where that comes from. So many hidden pockets of scripture are tucked in here. Many of them don't show in this image because it's just a screenshot, but as you, whoa, that was not good. Whoa, sorry guys. As you zoom in here, you can see that back in behind the rocks even is tucked all kinds of texture of words and many, many more sayings. So if you ever get a chance to look at this on his website, you'll be thoroughly blessed. This last one, I love this piece so much. In 2024, Focus on the Sacred Retreat that Randy hosted, he shared with us that he learned how to write Hebrew and studied about the Old Testament Hebrew priests as he prepared for this piece. He even shared with us about this very specific color of blue that it's used in their clothing. For me, it's a visual reminder of the deep need to recognize the presence of God in my life every single day and to invite him into each circumstance, rather than going alone in my own strength and limited wisdom. As we zoom in again, we'll see all of the hidden words that can't be read until we draw near. And again, I noticed those words from Psalm 23, he restores my soul. Oh, I did it again. I'm sorry. Travis, I know you're laughing at me right now. So yeah, just beautiful, beautiful layering. And there's, he restores my soul in this beautiful, subtle script. Randall is a very humble man who quietly produces these amazing pieces of art. We know him best for his incredible calligraphy. I'd invite you to get to know more about him. He's a deep researcher and shares his knowledge with his students in everything he does. He has so much to share, and I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to learn from him. My inspiration for doing these pieces around Psalm 23 is based on my mom. She was a flaming redhead with a flaming personality. But when I was around 4 years old, one of my only early childhood memories was of her teaching me Psalm 23 from this old Bible that sat on our coffee table. The day she passed away, June 28, 2024, I was at her bedside. She could no longer speak, but was very alert and knew what was going on. I reminded her of this memory and told her how much it meant to me that she'd taught me this Bible passage. I then showed her a picture of one of my landscape paintings, and I told her I was going to be painting another landscape that would be based on these precious verses and that I would be dedicating the project to her. She was an amazing mother and an incredibly strong woman. She never gave up and fought till the very last moments of her life. I love you, Mom. I've completed 4 paintings for you to take a look at, but before I share about each one's history and the steps it took for me to complete them, I'd like to share 3 of them in the context of the scripture that they represent. So this is the first one. It's titled By Still Waters. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As many people have shared, I have also experienced sharing our work. Our art is a very scary thing. We tend to feel like imposters, that our work isn't worth sharing, that people will not like what we've created and laugh at it behind our backs, that it just isn't good enough. In fact, feeling like we just aren't good enough in a lot of areas of life is common and holds us back from even trying much of the time. Art is as unique as a person's fingerprint. Just as with calligraphy, we may try to okay, so I did something wrong here. This is a quotation from John F. Carlson in a landscape painting guidebook, and I just really appreciate it. No, I'm wrong. We'll get to that. That's next. Art is as unique as a person's fingerprint. Just as with calligraphy, we may try to copy another person's work exactly to try to make it perfect, but it will never be the same no matter how similar it looks. Often we have false expectations of doing our art perfectly. We can't achieve the image we have in our minds. Sometimes that can keep us from stepping out and allowing ourselves to grow. Symbiosis has been an incredible gift to push me out of the place of fear and into believing that my art is worth sharing. It's been a personal struggle to get to this place, but I'm so grateful that it happened. I came across a very interesting comment by John F. Carlson in his Guide to Landscape Painting. It draws parallels between painting and handwriting. Style or method of painting is like your personal handwriting. You thought little about it when you were forming your first crude letters in school. We all use the same alphabet, and one man's letters are legible to another, and yet how vastly different in general appearance. The style of your handwriting was dictated by some latent and unconscious quality within you. And even your present style will gradually change with the years of practice in writing or in painting, with ripening of character. When you sit down to write an essay or a letter, it is not your penmanship that you're thinking about. It's what you're going to say that occupies your mind. The style in painting, as in writing, is subconsciously developed. You can use thick paint or thin paint. You can stain your canvas according to your personal feeling about it. It is what you're going to say on the canvas that is all important, and not how you're going to put that paint or put on the paint or handle that thing. In the beginning, as we started meeting early, inspired by Randy, I was trying to paint on just a big piece of raw canvas just for experiments to see, how would a pen work on it? How would painting on it work? Could I, it's a whole different medium than painting on paper. So this was one sample canvas that I shared with the group that was just I started with. This is the back side of the same canvas. So I was just trying to play with moodier colors and darker. Then I started painting landscapes on canvas that were actually kind of ugly, in my opinion. So I painted this one. It's also like 24 by 36. It's quite large. There are some things about it that are kind of nice, and it's interesting if you zoom in on it, but as a whole, I'm not real happy with it. There's a little bunny hidden in here above the grass. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
then
can.
the background is kind of fun. My trees had some nice texture. There's some little sheep in the background, but it was an experiment and I was learning. So oopsie. What are you guys seeing right now? My slide?
Yeah, we see the slide and the whole painting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I zoomed out too far. So then this is the next one I painted. I felt like this one was too bright and too light and didn't have enough dimension in it. So then I went to the other extreme, painted another piece of canvas just for fun, just to experiment. And it got really dark. Again, but I learned about texture in painting in dark things. So as you can see, there's a lot of texture in this dark stuff that was very interesting to learn how to develop. And then some of these have been posted on Instagram. I did an experiment and was kind of happy with what I did. So I framed it. That was fun. And then I painted this piece that I actually sent the original to Elna. So she has that in the Philippines. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It kind of got me going in a direction. But again, it's kind of dark, kind of looks old world. But nothing was safe from painting landscapes on. I painted the landscape on my Bible because the cover was cracked. So I enjoyed doing that as well. And then I started trying to figure out, okay, if I want to have one of my pieces, I thought I wanted to have a sunset in. So I started exploring painting clouds. The left side is a photo that I took, and then the right side is the painting imitating that photo. So that was kind of fun. And there are just some more experiments with clouds. And then I realized, well, my pieces all have sheep in them, so I've got to figure out what to do with sheep. So I started sketching sheep. And then my first piece is called Still Waters, the one with the dark green in it. I spent between 150 and 180 hours painting this piece. In the end, I don't think it represents what I hoped to paint, but it was very challenging and I learned so much through it. This piece became my education. And for that, I'm grateful that I put the hard work in. I can show you some of the challenges I faced as I went along the way and made modifications. As Young-Hae mentioned in her presentation, painting at a larger scale changes everything. And that's what I was learning about canvas, but even painting this size, which is like, I forget what it is. It's larger than 12 by 14. I don't remember. But painting larger on loose canvas, I realized is very difficult for me. And it's one thing that makes me admire Randy's work even more. So on the left, starting from the left, I tinted the background of the canvas. It was a white canvas and sort of lightened up where I thought clouds might go and where the reflections might be in the water. And then I began kind of sketching in with darker brown paint where I thought trees would go, and started gradually putting in a little bit more detail, started painting in the sky, if you can see a little bit of blue behind it. And then kept moving with the same thing, a little bit of paint down into the clouds and into the water. At this point, I must have stopped taking photos. I have most of the trees in and a lot of the green foliage, but I started to really not like this piece because having two trees so close together on the left side and them looking so stiff was really beginning to bother me, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I kept struggling and fighting and trying to figure it out. Let's see, this was me adding branches, adding foliage, and continuing to work a little bit in the foreground and filling in the foliage around the water, as you can see. This first image, oh boy, I did it again. Sorry, guys. This first image on the left, actually, I took a picture and brought it into the iPad. I was really struggling with that foreground and the concept of, did I put more plants into it? I don't know if you remember the last image, it was sort of sandy beach and then went into the water. And my brilliant son, Travis, you know, he's not an artistic person, but he's really great at seeing problems and potentially how to fix them. He has an engineer's mind. And so I had shown him my painting and he suggested something to me that was really helpful. He said, well, why don't you just bring the water all the way to the foreground? I thought, oh, well, that's brilliant. So in the iPad, I had added some branches to the trees up top, filled out the tree on the right side on the other side of the water, and sketched in what I thought the water might look like. So that was a really helpful experiment to do virtually rather than doing it all in person. This was the actual painting progress at that point. I had implemented those changes. and I still hated the trees. So I became expert at unpainting. Now this acrylic paint had already been on and dried for well over a month. And with determination and a mixture of rubbing alcohol and water, a brush, a lot of patience, I was able to remove these trees. Oh boy, there I go again. So I was trying to keep from giving you guys oh boy, a million slides, and now I'm struggling with this. You can see I removed the trees, but that also removed the sky and the mountains behind it. And so I had to rebuild all of that, and wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it, frankly. I didn't think I'd be able to rebuild the sky and the background, and especially where that tree trunk came down into the grass. That was really difficult to blend back in, but I managed to do it there. So this is why this painting took so much time. I did things, I erased things, I put them back on, I took them off. I don't have, again, the training to know what's wrong or right. I just had to keep experimenting. So then Randall said, and the group said, why don't you find a tree that you like? So I found this tree. Again, I took the image into the iPad, created a layer over it, and did a sketch basically of the skeleton of the tree. And then I thought, well, I'm not gonna paint a whole tree again and then have to erase it again. So I started just playing on paper, trying to paint that tree and give myself some idea of what it might be like to paint it. And then I went ahead and sketched in the skeleton of the tree and started filling it in on the left side there. This time, instead of starting darker and trying to add highlights, I reversed it and decided that I would add light and then build on that. And that was a lot more successful for me. I kept adding foliage. I thought I was nearly done here. And then I asked the group, I said, does that sheep look big enough to you? Or does it look like a dog? And Randy said, nice dog, Arlene. So I had to take the sheep out.
I did not.
You did too.
No.
You totally did. I had to take the sheep out and repaint him. But then I started struggling with the reflections in the water. And Nancy was with me through that process. I ended up doing the reflection in the water in the foreground at least 3 or 4 times. I kept painting over it with gesso or removing stuff and doing it over and over and over again, which was really frustrating. And then ended up with this. So the struggle was real. I like some of the detail that's in it. I will zoom in for you. I like the background. I think that it's soft and there's enough detail to be interesting. I like the detail in the tree, which you can't really appreciate if you don't see that in person and it's not well lit, but there's a lot of detail in the tree and in the branches. There's another little Easter egg. There's a bunny hiding back by those bushes. That bunny usually represents Nan, Dr. Nan, because she had suggested I could see a bunny in one of my landscapes. She said I could see a bunny in that. So I've been putting bunnies in to represent Nan. And I don't know how Randy became a frog, but down in the left corner, there's another Easter egg, and the frog represents Randy. Nothing personal there. And then this is the sheep that I ended up painting. But as you can see, there's a lot of detail in these bushes and in the grasses. And I'm happy with that. I've never painted rocks before. I was happy with how they came out. And I like the reflections on this side of the water. I was happy with that. So my next, let me talk a minute about Psalm 23 again and sheep. Sheep are animals who need a shepherd's care. They cannot survive for long on their own. The symbolism of our Lord as our shepherd and that we are helpless and sometimes stupid. Sheep tends to run through the imagery of sheep runs throughout the Bible. Here are just a few of the things that we can realize from this passage in Psalm 23. The Good Shepherd provides all of the sheep's needs. He moves them into green pastures. Sheep must be frequently moved or they will leave barren earth behind them. They eat the grass down to the roots, just as God sometimes has to bring things into our lives to move us into a different direction so our lives are not destroyed through the path that we're on. They need peace and loving care in order to be healthy and thrive. They require quiet waters to drink from and can't drink from rushing waters safely. God made us and knows exactly what we need to thrive. We can trust his provision and providence in our lives. The Good Shepherd restores our souls through providing protection and for caring for us, and by caring for us even when we don't deserve it and may not recognize it. The next piece is the next part of the psalm. It's called In the Valley, and these are my process sketches. This project was the first one that I actually completed because of it being the concept I had lived with the longest in my thoughts. Soon after Dorothy asked if I wanted to participate a second time, I knew I wanted to honor my mom with Psalm 23. And I had this imagery keep coming into my head. I felt like I had been living in the dark valley under the shadow of death for so long as I watched my mother spend the last year of her life in the hospital, cycling back in and out into skilled nursing and back into the hospital, and needing to care for her, maintain her house and finances, watch over my older brother who has special needs and who was at that time living alone. And we also had to keep this business running. So it was a really stressful time, but the Lord sustained me through it. I'm so grateful to my husband, Kurt, and two of my sons, Travis and Chad, who've been such a huge reason I was able to complete this program again and keep things running in our business. The support of and love of my family mean everything to me. Then this was another just experiment in one of Randy's large Mahara journals. How big are those journals, Randy? Each page is what size?
If they're open, they're a half sheet of watercolor paper. I think they're 11 by 17.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was really muddy but I was just experimenting. It was, got me there. And then I did a piece on watercolor paper, kind of implementing a little bit more of what I was thinking. And these are just process shots of the canvas as it evolved. And then this is the final piece. You'll notice that the sheep is down here in the bottom. What the symbolism of this piece means to me is, I'll take a minute to explain. I'm also grateful for the love and strength that God provides to us in these times of deep stress and turmoil. I've used symbolism in this piece to illustrate how the love and provision of the Lord carries us through the dark times. The storm clouds represent the worries, storms, and oppression that life can bring. The dead trees with their clawing arms represent the imminent danger we can find ourselves in at times, the overwhelming dread and threats we face. The sheep is downcast and sad, barely able to lift its head, feeling alone, frightened, and hopeless. The light shining through the storm clouds from heaven directly onto the sheep represents the presence of the Lord. He always sees what we're going through and always knows our fears and is with us in those times of tribulation. The Bible tells us that in the world we will have tribulation, but that we can rejoice because Christ has overcome the world. The green hills in the background represent the hope we can always have that there are better days ahead, that we will eventually find a way out of the valley. The little Easter egg in this image is in the single green leaf still clinging to the branch above the tree near the sheep, above the sheep in the tree near him. This also represents that there is always hope, even in the darkest times. I felt like I lived in this valley for a number of years, starting with my dad getting cancer in 2017 and needing to drive him to all of his appointments. Since he was the only one who could drive in the household, my mom's health had had prevented her from driving. I needed to drive both of my parents to most of the places they needed to go during that period of time. Then my dad passed away suddenly in 2022. I was the first responder and had arrived just moments before he'd had the heart attack. The trauma of doing CPR on him and needing to be strong for my mom and brother took a toll. Then, as I described, the last year of my mom's life was also very difficult with her being in and out of the hospital so many times. Then something happened. I was nearing the deadline of needing to have my 3 pieces complete at the end of September. I had spent nearly 2 weeks while at my home in Idaho trying to create my 3rd piece. I was working super hard at it, much as I had on the first one, and I became very frustrated and discouraged. I needed to get this 3rd piece completed before I attended Randy's Focus on the Sacred annual retreat. I was leaving for the retreat Sunday, and it was already Friday. I had no choice but to surrender my efforts, humble and quiet my heart, and ask the Lord to show me what to do. I know, I asked myself, why didn't I think of that sooner? I'm a stupid, stubborn sheep. I had shared my frustrations with my co-mentees and Randy and thought, well, maybe I'll be able to create something at the retreat that I'll be able to use later. On Saturday, I was busy packing and unpacking from the trip I'd just gotten home from, I was busy unpacking for the trip I'd just gotten home from and repacking for the retreat I was leaving for the next morning. I finished packing about 7 p.m. Then I decided to take a look at Instagram for some inspiration. I kept coming across these very soft, ethereal landscapes that spoke to me very loudly. I unpacked my brushes and paint and started on a new linen canvas. I didn't feel any pressure. This was just an experiment I didn't plan to use. And I was supposed to do for this 3rd project. I sent the picture that'll be coming to Randy that evening to Randy, and he sent me back these emojis in his text. I was confused. I said new beginning underneath the picture I had sent. And he says, no idea, and the okay sign. And I was like, what does that mean? Question mark. And he said, it fits right in with the week. Trust me, now I got to get some sleep. Well, I had no idea what he meant, but felt something beautiful was happening, and I couldn't wait for tomorrow. So this is the image that I sent him. It felt peaceful, like I could finally breathe, like the Lord had truly answered my prayer and inspired me to go in a completely different direction. So that's why there's such a disparity between my first 2 projects and how they look and this 3rd project with the last part of the psalm. I changed really dramatically and almost instantly in how I paint. And it's been a really, really interesting process. These are just process shots of the week I had spent at the Focus on their Sacred retreat of my canvas. I don't have a lot of them. I just kind of painted in the background as Randy was sharing all of the beautiful things that he had prepared for us. And I just felt such peace and such calm in painting this and really enjoyed doing it. At one point, I thought I was going to have a little lake in the middle here, and I ended up removing that. And I was glad I did. And this is the final piece. Let me zoom in for a minute on it so you can see some of the detail. I don't know if you can see, there's little bits of gold in the clouds down low and up high that catch the light and reflect. They don't show really well here in this photo.
We can see bits of it, yes.
Yeah, you can see little bits of it. There's a dove. You see him hiding there. Typical little Easter egg thing. I was going to put in a bunny, but I didn't end up doing that. I couldn't find a good spot for him. And then there's a little tiny sheep in the corner. This was my final project. The symbolism that exists in it for me is if the painting of the very first painting was the youth of life and the second painting was the middle of life with its struggles, this painting represents the sunset of life with the promise of knowing I'll be going home to be with the Lord eternally. That's why this painting is entitled Going Home. The soft glowing sunset light represents the presence of the Lord. The rays of light are reaching out and guiding the sheep home. The little dove represents the presence of the Holy Spirit in our lives. And the white-tipped wheat represents our witness on earth and the other souls that will come to know the Lord. There's a Bible verse in John 4:35 that says, where Jesus was telling his disciples, he says, "Look, I tell you, lift up your eyes and see that the fields are white for the harvest." And he was encouraging them to get out there and share the gospel with souls, and the wheat represents the souls of people. This change in painting style represents a significant change in me and my art journey. The first painting represented the very best that I could do in my own strength and determination. While it was a great teacher, the Spirit of the Lord was not really in it. It's nice enough painting, but it doesn't move me the way this piece did. And so I'm painting differently now. I'm at peace when I paint. I'm enjoying it so much more than I had before. But I knew I wasn't quite done. I really wanted to paint Jesus into this picture, but couldn't because of the scale. It was very hard just to paint the little sheep in the scene. I also had a strong burden that I wanted to incorporate the text of the psalm into a painting. And so I painted this last piece as a bonus. But first I had to figure out how to paint a human form, something I hadn't tried to do yet. So I played around some more. I tried painting a female form in a dress and then jumped into trying to paint Jesus from behind. There's no way I was going to try to do a face. But yeah, I figured that out and I thought, okay, well, let's keep going. So I sketched out my ideas for the last piece that included the most of the psalm. I did omit a few verses, but most of the psalm in a landscape, which is not ideal. I can't do what Randy does to marry text and art, imagery the way that he does, but I wanted to do something. So this is what I came up with. My next step was to take the canvas and like I did in the, I did it again. Like I did in the last one, just to lightly paint in the scene that I wanted to paint. And then here I had penciled in the text. And then in the next slide, I painted, I actually inked the text first and then started painting over it. I knew that the gray text was too dark, but I knew that the paint would soften it and mute it. So I wasn't prepared, though, that the acrylic ink would kind of spread, and even though I was painting with a pointed pen, it kind of became a little unruly for me. I'm not real happy with the text itself, but I'm happy with the painting in general. So there I'm painting over it, adding trees. Here I've painted over most of the text, and a lot of it got lost in the grasses and the horizon. So Randy actually suggested, he said, if it were me, I would darken the text from the horizon down. So I didn't have any kind of an ink color that would work by itself. So I tried to mix up sort of a blue-green color to be a little bit harmonious with the grass. It kind of worked, kind of didn't, but this is the final piece. I did end up painting Jesus and the Lamb into it, which is kind of obviously a new thing, but I was happy enough with how it came out. My husband helped me a lot trying to figure out the scale. Again, I had taken this to the iPad and stuck Jesus in and stuck the Lamb in and was trying to figure out, how big do I make it? How small should he be? Where should he be? Where would it look right? That's a whole thing. That's how I ended up with the first sheep that looked like a dog, because it's really difficult to know when you're placing something that's alive inside of a landscape, how big to make them based on where they are and how far away they are from you. Yeah, I've been changed through this process. I'm eternally grateful for Dorothy and her graciousness and generosity in hosting this program. Her gift to us is immeasurable and can't be measured in a monetary value. Thank you, dear friend, for your faithfulness and your belief in me. And then I wanted to share a little sneak peek of what I'll be teaching next week. If you're interested in learning about my process and how I paint landscapes, I'll be teaching that next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arlene. That was such a beautiful, beautiful presentation. Yeah. It feels almost like we're wandering the fields of your spiritual and art journey, and you're taking us on an emotional journey. That was so beautiful. And the light in those paintings. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So what I would like to do is also I really, really want to invite the Hessen team. They've been through, you should read the comments. So we have so many comments from everyone we've been
Oh,
sharing.
wow, I see that. You'll have to
Yeah.
share them with me
Yes,
after.
yes, we will. And we do have a few questions. I think Nan was asking. She was asking about the frame that you had for the one you shared with the Instagram, I think. Was it an antique frame?
Oh, it's one I found on Amazon, actually. It's for framing canvases. Yeah, it's just it fits a flat art piece really well. I can
Yes.
share the link with you if you're interested at any point in time.
It
Hey,
was
Young Hey.
perfect for
Exactly.
your piece, Arlene. It was just so beautiful.
Thank you.
And we had so many, there's a lot of wonder in how you unpainted things. I think one of the questions was how did the unpainting affect the gesso base in any way?
I did go back in some places where I had gone too far and apply a little bit more gesso, but I was really careful and didn't scrub really hard. I mixed rubbing alcohol with about 50% alcohol, 50% water, and used like a bristle brush and gently, like I would agitate it, and then I would blot it with a paper towel and agitate it and blot it with a paper towel. So it took me a week to get those trees off. So that's why that painting took so much time. So much trial and error went into it. But yeah, but it's nice to know you can remove the paint.
Yes. Exactly. We've all made mistakes that we all wish we could undo a little bit. And your process, your patience with it, yeah, it shines through. Thank you for sharing. So the Hessen team, would you like to say some words?
I'll say, boy, Young Hey, you sure get around. Now you're at a photography exhibit. and yeah.
She was at a coffee shop earlier.
Oh my gosh. No, because Saturdays are usually so crazy with family like things. I'm just like, okay, guys, I now have to go find another cafe. I don't want to miss any of your presentations. So yes, it's actually like a random food court near a mall. I was able to find a little corner and this happens to be the background.
Nice.
Arlene, your work was so beautiful. And I think all these weeks seeing your work progress and a lot of it seeing it on the small screen of my phone, it didn't capture half the beauty of your paintings. And it was such a treat to see it like on the screen today with all the details and all your beautiful progress shots and just everything was so wonderful. And for you to share about your parents, I know it must have been very, very difficult. And to see this beautiful work you created where you can really feel like God in it. And it must have been so therapeutic. And I'm so happy you have found this art form, which you've really mastered. And so happy for Rani to be there, encouraging you and helping you along the way. It just really, really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're making me start to cry. Nobody else can make me cry more.
Voy a necesitar la ayuda de Ana, que está por acá con nosotros.
I will be the official translator for this tiny part.
Quiero decir que creo que en el grupo no habíamos visto tan de cerca las pinturas de Arlene. y el nivel de detalle que han tenido estas, ¿no?
So he's saying that in the group, he thinks that Arlene, they haven't seen the many details that Arlene painting has. So he's like very excited to be able to
Oh.
see it.
Incredible, incredible. Cada rama, cada hoja del árbol está perfectamente hecha. Es hermosísimo.
Every branch, every leaf, like everything is very well done and very precise.
Thank you.
Y en cada una de tus obras se respira espiritualidad, ¿no?
And
Eso,
in every one of your artwork, you can feel the spirituality. It's very much there.
me
Oh,
quedo con eso de toda tu obra, sí.
Ay, me repetís, no te entendí bien.
Me quedo con esa parte de toda tu obra.
He's saying that that is the part that he will keep with him about your artwork.
Thank you.
Beautiful work, beautiful.
Thank you.
Gracias, Ana.
Oh, con gusto.
I guess I'll go next. So Arlene, I really loved when you were like texting the group these old photos that we've had back in 2016. Because in some ways we started this journey together, but then I'm just amazed to see how much you have just pivoted and grown and developed as an artist to be a magnificent painter and also a dear sister in Christ. I'm serious. Stop shaking your head. You are such a compassionate sister. You texted me and you always say words of encouragement. And I felt like just knowing the similar trials that we've had to grieve, as well as to take care of all the things, after, losing someone. I just felt like you're such a safe person that I can always share with. And actually, to be honest, like landscape painting is such a foreign world to me, but I think like through this process, I've realized that it's so complicated, and all the more through this presentation, I didn't realize like all the hours that you have poured into each piece. It just really shows also like you have that man side of wanting to strive for excellence and not being afraid to remove things, try things. I would never want to touch or like, erase like a whole tree and try to like redo that.
Well,
But
I hated
feel
it. I was so frustrated that I thought, I can't ruin it any more than it is. So if I ruin it, I start over.
I mean, that takes so much courage. But all the little details that you have to work with perspective, you have to work with proportions, you have to work with background, making the background smooth. You have to work on with layers. There's just so much I realize, like with painting, that I've learned so much just by observing the process that you've taken to be showing us your final pieces. It's just not an easy road. And I just really, I'm so proud to see these final pieces and just how you have really inspired and encouraged each of us in our group along the way. It made me want to really learn painting. You have a very realistic, romantic way of painting that really draws people in. And yeah, I'm just so proud of you and honored to have been in this journey with you.
Anytime, call me. I'll help you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so I made notes. So just sort of for everybody else here, since we've all sort of been through this. Arlene, do you happen to have all of those paintings and a picture on one slide by any chance?
No.
Okay. So we'll just give you a little
paintings. I have the paintings, but
well, that's okay. We'll just give you a little bit of. I'll just give everybody a little bit of history. So
I could go back to the beginning of my slideshow where they were like,
Yeah, just that one. Did you have all three next to each other?
they
Your
were,
three.
they were,
Yeah.
they were like just a slide
Yeah,
apart.
please go back to that, and then maybe you can share your screen, and then Judith, maybe you can take us all off of there and feature her screen, because the interesting part was I think Arlene and and I met about 3 years ago, was it? I would guess on our
It was during Symbiosis 3, so that would have been like 2020.
Yeah, so each year, for I guess it's been 10 or 12 years, I've been doing a week-long retreat. And the week-long retreat has started out because I lived in Santa Fe, and Pecos is a sort of historic village near Santa Fe, and there's a monastery there. And the monastery, I got a phone call from I heard this voice. I picked up the phone and I heard this voice, and it was, "Hello, this is Brother John. And I understand you're a calligrapher, and we would like you to teach illuminated manuscripts." And for those of you who have seen my work, I'm not an expert in illuminated manuscripts, but I asked him a few questions, and I figured, I'll probably know more than most of the people that come there. So we began this tradition, and it became more of an open week. And so it's this week-long thing, and there's usually a theme, and there's usually a couple of skills. Maybe one of them would be a painting skill, and one of them would be a lettering skill. And so that's what we've been doing. And Arlene participated in one of those before we started getting back in person, and while she was going through the last Symbiosis. And she just something clicked right then, and she found some paint, and it had some reflection, and she just was off. And so we'd had that little bit of a history, and then the next year, we actually met in person. And what happened was, it was going to be a painting class. We were going to be talking about my painting process, and she started doing a canvas. And as I was watching her paint, I realized, oh, you're a painter. I told her, you're a painter. And she's like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, I mean, you're a painter. She brought in some little tiny things that were just beautiful. And I was like, yeah, I've seen that in galleries on Canyon Road in Santa Fe. You're a painter. And the point is that she can see. So when you work through this process, when all of us, I didn't realize, Young Hae, for example, that you hadn't seen her paint out that tree, because I kept getting texts. This tree's terrible. Like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. It's terrible. I'm painting it out. Well, you don't have to do that. I painted it out. I mean, this whole process that went through. And one of the reasons that's important, and one of the reasons I say you're a painter, is because she could see that tree wasn't right for her goals. She was like, this is just not, it's too much of a lollipop. There's two trees there. There's just
two lollipop trees. Yep.
Right. And so if you look at this painting that she has up on the screen, which is her first painting with all of those struggles, what happened was she took that tree, which was roughly just a little bigger than the trees on the right, and she made it go off the canvas. So she changed the whole scale of the tree, which made the whole painting so much more interesting, because now your eye bounces around and you can bounce. You have something very much in the foreground. Then you go to the next largest tree on the right, and then your eye can follow back. And so she's taken a number of devices that I'm going to guess, Arlene, you didn't even know you were doing this. I think you kind of knew, but didn't know. She has a number of devices that lead you back into the distance and into the horizon line. And so she was doing this, and she didn't maybe know she was doing it, but she knew it wasn't right. So when when you're a painter, you're sitting there looking at and sitting with this and going, that's not right. Now, there's a whole number of ways. And I'll say Arlene's dopey enough to use the same method that I use. Is I figure, well, if I make a mistake and if I erase it and I get it back to white, I know how I got there, so I'll just rebuild it. And she thinks the same way. And most painters would just paint it out and repaint it and match everything. And I don't do that. So go to the next one.
Okay.
So from this painting where she had all of her struggles, she had a much easier time visually communicating with this painting. This one came a lot quicker, didn't it, Arlene?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And
So
it's a little smaller too. That helped.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing. And so we were, as she was going through all this, we as mentors, Dorothy would have us meet, and as we started this process, this love of letters process, this symbiosis, how to elevate calligraphy. My problem was, yeah, Dorothy, I got a painter. I'm watching what I'm watching what she's doing, and I can't and won't tell her to force letters on some of these things. That's not correct. She's actually visually communicating exactly what she wants to visually communicate through these paintings. By the way, this is the same subject that Young-hae worked with in a totally different format. And so when she's working through this, one of the things we discussed was, after that first painting, well, why don't you do maybe a triptych? And maybe why don't you do like 3 paintings? And if you guys remember what when Luis did, he did a bunch of vertical paintings. Why don't you do some paintings and then put the letters and put your text in between them and make a really nice thing? And she said, that's a great idea. And then she decided to use a different canvas size. And then she decided to use a different canvas size. And so by the time we were done with that, it was like, no, you're just working. And so now go to that last painting, please. And so by the time she got here, and this is what I observed in the first painting, she's learning the materials. She's focused on the materials because she doesn't understand wait a minute, what's going on, and how do I use this, and how do I get rid of that? And the thought process through that first painting was understanding the materials. How does this work on canvas? How do I get this erased? Those were all of the struggles that she went through. The second painting, she understood the materials a little bit better, not totally probably, but a little bit better. And so she was more intuitive. This painting was totally intuitive. Would you agree, Arlene?
1000%.
Because, and so the reason that this feels different is because you're not struggling with your materials. You know what the materials are going to do. So now you're just visually communicating what you want to communicate or what's coming out of you, and not thinking about how does the paint work? What brush do I use? I have no idea, by the way, that little bird you got in there, how you got that thing was so small. It was like 2 canvas bumps wide, ridiculous. But the point is that there's not only an evolution in the artwork that goes with the poetry, the psalm that you chose, but there's an evolution in your painting style and throughout this whole journey. And I think this is a very interesting painting style. So so the struggle, I think, is you figuring out, who am I going to be as an artist, and who am I going to be as a painter? And so that was one of the most important things. The other thing I want to just tell you is, don't say I can't. One of the last things you said was, oh, I can't do this stuff like Randy. Yeah, you can. But what you need to understand is that when I'm doing that stuff, I'm thinking like a painter. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to put these letters on here, and then once they're on there, that's it. If they're wrong, if they need to be recolored, if I need to go over them again, my hand's going to do the same thing. And so I don't mind recolor them. I'm thinking like a painter. If those letters were leaves and you wanted to change the color of the leaves, you'd go back and paint the leaves. Well, you do the same thing with letters. And so don't say can't, because
Okay.
you actually are on a journey where you can do whatever you want. It's more about what you want that your voice, your visual voice to be to us. So those are the only thing. I mean, it's just this beautiful, and show that do you have the ability to show that last piece, the very last piece? Okay, because, and the reason is because the difference between this one and the last one is, yeah, keep just
seasick.
Yeah, keep scrolling through. And so you get to that last piece where you said, yeah, I want to put Jesus in there. Well, Jesus looks amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Also, you have a triangle here. You have that large tree on the right, and you have the medium-sized tree, and then you're coming right back. There's this triangle that's coming towards us.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, no, but this is what you're doing instinctually. This is my point. You're a painter, so you're balancing everything out, and so you put the lettering on there, and I think you and I could both agree. I think everybody else loves it. I think you and I could both agree it was a struggle, and maybe it was the right. Maybe it's right, maybe it's not. But the reason you did it was because you were like, oh, I'm in a lettering symbiosis.
Yes,
I need to put some lettering on there.
Guilty.
Right.
After Dorothy said calligraphic, this and that, and I'm like, oh, I don't have anything with letters on it. And I literally painted this guy's in like 12 hours. It wasn't a long time. It was so much faster than anything else. But
right. And so you've brought yourself to this conclusion here, and a lot of this is for us and for Dorothy. You may or may not have put that lettering in there before, but your figure, we're in this, and I could go on for longer, and I'm going to cut it short here, but props to you for asking your husband and your family, hey, what do you see? Because your husband was right. That's the right scale. And by the way, whenever I had a question on a painting, when I had a gallery, I would literally put the painting half finished out in front of the gallery, and I would ask people what they see. And I would just say, what do you see? Well, I'm not an artist. I don't care. What do you see? And if they described what I was trying to do, great. If they were misunderstanding what I was trying to do, then I make adjustments. And so that's where other people's voices come in visually. But I'm for all of you, I mean, it's just been, what a pleasure it's been to get here. And even this thing, it's what a great journey you've been on. I'm so excited to see where you're all going to go. And I think we've posed a little bit of a challenge for Dorothy, because it's like, what are you going to do with a painter, Dorothy? So, but I think she's loved kind of watching what's going on. And anyway, I think we're all grateful. I'll shut up now. And
thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your comments.
Actually, it's beautiful that you brought up like the family, Randall, because the next I also really want to invite your husband and your youngest son, because you mentioned how the comments have shaped your paintings, and at certain points, I would like to invite them if they're okay to speak.
Travis, Kurt, do you want to say anything? I don't know.
Just that I'm so proud of you, Mom. You did such a good job. You're way too hard on yourself, but yeah,
I
I've loved
appreciate
to watch your journey too.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me, you and Dad, allowing me to spend the hours away from you guys. I mean, they're like widows. Like I don't exist. I'm in my office with the door closed and painting all night long, like 4 hours a night, sometimes almost every day. So it was really a lot.
I won't say a lot. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just want to tell you a little bit of Arlene. When she does something, she gives it her all. She doesn't do anything halfway. And even though that she dedicates so much of her time, she loves doing it. And I think that not only that she loves doing it for herself, but she loves to share that with others that she really cares about. And that'd be like you guys. But I'm really proud of her. Like she did make a comment at the very beginning of her calligraphy, and I couldn't say too much because she was at the beginning stages of it, and
It
so
was ugly, I know.
I always have to give her compliments, but it was a struggle, and but she got so good that now it's like wow, I'm extremely impressed, and I think she's just a beginning painter, and I'm really inspired to see what's going to happen. In the months to come. So I'm really proud of you, Arlene. I'm really proud of your presentation. You did a great job, and you know that your family's behind you. We all love you. That
Thank
was
you
it.
so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I
And
just want to add that in the previous Symbiosis that Arlene was at, I could see that she was beginning to break through at the end. She was finding her medium, she's finding her footing. She found these luminous paints that can, reflect light, and she was so excited. And I think she was it clouds? You were doing a lot
I
of
was
cloud
doing
paintings, yeah.
yeah.
So I felt that wow, she's just on the verge of breaking through. So when Arlene said she would like to, have a second go at it, I thought, okay, yeah, this is great because another nudge would really help to push her into another level. So I think I'm really glad that you did this, and I'm also glad that you didn't try to force calligraphy onto the painting, even though yeah, this is calligraphic art exhibition. Because and I think this is a struggle that a lot of calligraphers go through. It's like, okay, I know how to write beautiful letters, and then I know how to use some medium. Then how do I bring the two things together? So for some of us, we find our ways, and then but for some of us, it's just not necessary, And I think that your paintings, stand alone, are just gorgeous, very dreamy. But it wasn't necessary to have letterings, imposed on them. Maybe accompanying, I mean, if letterings were accompanying and then interpreting the painting and vice versa, that could be one direction you could try. But
Sure.
please carry on painting.
Thank you.
Without-
And thank you for the opportunity because it did push me and I wouldn't have pushed and broken through. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So be a painter without apology and be a calligrapher without apology. Yeah, so thank you for sharing your art. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes,
yes,
please,
please.
Donna.
So, Arlene, thank you so much. It was a huge blessing to me. It was a lovely presentation and all the emotions that you have expressed, not just by words, but through your artwork. It truly blessed my heart, and I feel like crying while watching it because I know the journey you had with your dad and with your mom, and we always talk, and you give me your prayer requests and I pray for you, so that it's more personal to me watching you present your artwork. So thank you for this and for mentioning me and being one of the recipients, and this as well. I mean, I have yet to put them in a frame. I haven't found the right frame, and I have this book. And I must say that you have now convinced me after watching your presentation that I must try acrylic painting.
You'll have the paint too.
Yes,
so.
you sent me the paint and I haven't touched it. It's still here, but thank you so much. Praise
You're
the Lord
welcome.
for your wonderful testimony through your artworks. And it truly blessed my heart. And
Thank
I know
you.
it will be
I
a
love
blessing
you.
to a lot of people. I love you, and keep painting, keep being a good influence on Instagram and the whole of the calligraphy and the painting community. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. And Anna, you raised your hand.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, you
Yes.
can.
Okay. So before we start, I was saying to Arlene, like sometimes art doesn't need an explanation. But I'm really glad that you did, because every art, I mean, we are artists, we are very vulnerable, how do you say it? Like we pour our hearts into our work. And it's very nice to see, to know like the secret details on the paintings, like the bunny and who was the bunny, and the frog and who was the frog. So these fun things, I because you know you can see the art, and a person that doesn't know what it means will say like, well, there is a hidden bunny over here. But then when you know what truly means, it's like you have like this secret that we all know. And it's very nice to know that and to have the explanation. And I think you did a wonderful job. Like to see the three pieces, and then you go from this that where everything is okay, and then you go to the storm, and then you go to the after the storm where everything is very peaceful. And the paint where this storm is, you have a green leaf that really caught my eye, and it's a
Oh, I
very
forgot
tiny.
to mention, did I forgot to mention that? Oh, you know, when I was writing, I think I wrote that
No,
in
you
maybe
mentioned it. You
Did
mentioned
I?
it. And
Okay.
in fact, I was gonna tell you, you call them Easter eggs, but they're your
Yeah.
little surprise. That's your term for little surprises, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's very nice because you know you see all these gray and chaotic kind of image, but then there is the green and there is the light and there is the hope. I mean, you can see it and you can feel it. So I'm very glad that you took the time to explain how you do your work. I think it's beautiful. And I do think should keep going, as everybody else is saying. Like, go girl, you have this.
Thank you
Very
so much.
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nancy, tell us about that leaf.
I saw that right away, and I was so tickled that you moved the leaf, because I think that it draws your eyes so much more strongly into the center of the painting and toward the lamb, in a way that I think when it was stuck way out on the top left, that it
So they
drew
don't
your
know
eye
what we're talking about, but originally I had the leaf up very, very high in the tree. And whenever I'd hand someone the canvas, they would try to scrape it off with their fingernail. They thought that it was a mistake. And everybody would literally try to scrape it with their fingernail. And Nancy said, Arlene, this needs to get moved. And so when she was at the Focus on the Sacred with me, and she said, you know, and I'm like, well, where should I put it, Nancy? So she kind of gave me the idea of where to put that one little leaf, and it did make a big difference.
It was so lovely to see, and this was really beautiful, and to hear your explanations, a lot of which I had heard before, but to see the whole thing in sequence and the way you put it together really was quite beautiful. And I'm so glad you invited me.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. I'm so glad you could come. Yeah, that little leaf above in the middle of the tree on the left side was on the very tip-top branches at one point in time.
Yeah. I love the stories that come with noticing these details, you know. Sometimes just one detail can have so many stories behind the people who inspired it, and all the memories that come with removing, adding choices that we wouldn't normally notice as viewers. So that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing,
I
Nancy.
think it's helpful for people to know that that's part of the process, is making adjustments as you go. You have to keep adding or darkening or lightening and until it's right, at least for what you want to portray.
100%.
And I think one of the things that struck me about the leaf in the painting, and I'm so glad it's still in there, is that if you look at the lamb is looking down and away and does not see that leaf of hope, even though the leaf of hope is there. And so therefore, to have that present gives me encouragement that even the hope is there, even when I'm looking in the wrong direction and I forget to look up.
Amen. That's true.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Nan, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I forgot because I just woke up when this meeting started, but I had a message for Arlene from Ojaswini. She wanted to tell you that she's really sorry she couldn't make it. And she wishes you all the best for your presentation. And I can't wait to tell her that it was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, tell her thank you so much for me.
Thank you all so much for sharing. And I think we all are very, very touched by your emotional depth and your journey, the journey of light, and how your lamp moves through your inner fields and your spiritual fields. That's beautiful. Are
Thank
there
you. Yeah,
anyone else?
I really try to portray peace and the
Yes,
light of the Lord in my paintings. So
shows through so much. And
you.
is there anyone else who would like to say something? If not, maybe what I can do is we can stop the recording, Dorothy.